Good morning. So something I've never really had to do is hunt for car parts. I've hunted for a few small things, but it was really short time spans that I was hunting, maybe a couple weeks or something for the Integra, but I've never actually spent months searching for a car part. So I'm gonna go pick something up for the Miata right now that I've been searching for since day one when I got it back in December almost a year ago. Yeah, a little over 10 months ago. So I'm excited. This is unfortunately the most expensive car part that I've bought, so probably not that expensive for some of the stuff you guys have bought, but definitely the most expensive I've bought, because it actually cost me, it's costing me $100 more than what I actually paid for the car, which is cheap, but a lot to buy for a part. But the good thing about this part in specific is that it's very functional, but it also is going to, if I ever decide to go sell this Miata, it's going to bump the value right up quite a bit. My brother just pulled up. Looks like he got himself a nice new dadmobile, because if you guys didn't know, he is having the first baby in our bloodline. I have a stepsister, two stepsisters with kids, so I'm gonna be an uncle to somebody of my own kin, if that makes sense, if that's the right word. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, looks like he picked up a new vehicle. Looks pretty shiny and nice. But he's gonna go with me. We have to take the Miata because I don't have access to the truck right now. So I should be able to just slap it on when we get there, and hopefully all is well. Oh goodness, another day. So I just picked up the piece that I actually came for. I'm leaving now. I was gonna film while I was there, but honestly I got really sketched out just because the area we were in, and then, I don't know, my spidey sense wasn't really tingling, but just didn't really feel right. But I'm so stoked on this thing. I'm not even gonna be like one of those douchey YouTubers that just kind of like flaunts it and hides it till the end of the video. I'm gonna just show you guys now because we got other stuff to do, I'm sure. So this is what we picked up. Super minty, like pretty much practically brand new OEM hardtop. So the only thing that I need to do is get the Frankenstein bolts that go under these things. It kind of helps align it. So it's all installed and it's on the car, but this thing is so dope. Like the headliner is still like pretty much brand new latches. Just had to adjust them a little bit because you have to kind of like, each car is obviously a little bit different. Side latches are pretty darn mint. I'm stoked. I've wanted a hardtop for so long. I don't think I'm gonna paint it because this paint is in such good condition and I don't wanna mess that up. So I may try and wrap it because you can't really mess it up by trying to wrap it. So that may be the move. Obviously I gotta wait, get some money saved up. I'm either gonna do black or I'm gonna try and save up a little bit more money and get some carbon Kevlar colored or gold carbon to match my fenders, which I think would be super sick. But man, am I stoked. Really can't get enough of this hardtop. It is so freaking mint. But we're over here at a buddy's house, and he lives just in the same area as me, but he's kind enough to let me, he has an EG and he has a Type R Integra over there, so we're just doing some test fit really quick to see if my Del Sol front braces will fit the EG. Now this one, resting it on the studs, is literally like a 1/4 inch off each hole, but the issue that I've been running into, that I found actually, is if you actually put it down on one side, you can kind of force it over on the other. So I know that's part of just the design stuff that I got to try and figure out. Maybe get an ovaled hole so that way I can give some sort of adjustability. But I don't know. We'll see really quick if it fits. Okay, well this brace in specific at least is just a hair off. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is take my brace off my Del Sol, double check my measurements, because I wrote down the measurements, and then I'll just remake it. So yeah, kind of a bummer. So the braces, at least for now, the front braces are going to be put on hold. I'm trying to get a hold of a machine shop local that I can go to with the template, and they can make me just new mounting points for the fronts or whatever. It is what it is, but I'm just getting, it's really hard to make consistent like universal, I guess, not universal, but like to fit every chassis, because obviously these cars are getting old, which means that over the time the metal fatigues certain things. Some cars may have had a fender bender here, bump to pull there, or something like that, which is going to push something off a little bit. So I've had 2 or 3 people that have had a little bit of fitment issues, and they've pretty much confirmed that their cars were a little beat up So for the fronts, I'm just going to try and get some plates made. For the rears, it's a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about angles and stuff because the shock towers are almost straight up and down. So in the meantime, front shock tower braces are only going to be custom made for locals only at the moment, so they'll have to drop their car off and give me about a day and I'll have them made up. But in the meantime, I just came outside to, you know, just do stuff and found a puddle underneath the Del Sol. And upon inspection of it, after I wiped all the fluid away, it's leaking a couple drips from that seal that I just changed. So I'm assuming it must have tore somehow going in. And then my half shaft seal, or axle seal, whatever it's called, where the half shaft goes into the trans, it's just straight puking it out of there. Which I knew it's been puking it out of there because I've been having issues with it. So if any of you guys have a B series half shaft for sale, because the one that's on my car, the reason it leaks is it doesn't have that ring on it, and I tried making my own and it still wasn't sealing, so then I had to cut the welds off and like smooth it out a bit, but then it made it out of round, so now it just doesn't seal against the seal in there. So I'm SOL. So yeah, if any of you guys have any B series, I forget exactly which one this is, probably, I think this is a DC Integra one. If any of you guys have a DC Integra half shaft, please let me know. I really need it, because this transmission, like, I literally have to add a quart of trans fluid like every other week, because I mean that's definitely the most it's ever puked out right there. So I don't know why, because I haven't driven the car in like 2 days. I just moved it from one end of the driveway to the other yesterday, so I don't know what that's all about. But today I don't really have too much going on at the moment. Some guy hit me up and he was wanting to bring his 06 Civic Si over for a custom brace, but we will see. So now I'm actually looking for tires for the Miata right now. I have a little bit of money set aside right now. Obviously I just bought this hardtop, so I need to either buy one more tire to match the BF Goodrich G-Force Rival that I have in the shed there that I think is almost brand new, or I'm just gonna get some more Federal RSRRs for the rear and drop the size down just a little bit, because I'm running 245s in the rear right now. Fronts are 225s, rears are 245s, and they fill out pretty much perfect, but you can kind of see the shininess on the tire. And even though I trimmed out the inner lip of the flares here, under hard cornering there's still a good bit of rubbing, because the rear end of the car is pretty soft. It's not bad, like I could use a sway bar, but it wouldn't be bad if it wasn't rubbing. So I think if I dropped it to a 225 Federal, because the Federals have really broad shoulders, so a 225 Federal is more like a 235 outside edge to outside edge. So I want to run the 225s in the rear for the Federals, at least, because the Federals are good, they're sticky, they're cheap, and they work. I'm sure some of you guys are probably getting a little bored of flies being in my house for no reason, and some of the fab stuff. I know a lot of you guys just want to see me work on cars, and trust me, I really want to be able to put money into my cars. But obviously, if you guys have been watching the channel the last like 2 months, you know that I've been out on my own now. I'm not working for anybody else. I'm trying to start my own business. I'm relying on the little bit of YouTube money I get, the couple bucks I get from selling stickers here and there as I have them, and then my side work and pretty much anything else I can do to make a few bucks here and there. So bear with me. We will eventually at some point start doing a lot of work to my own cars again, but this one is pretty cool. So this one, a subscriber just dropped off, and here she be. As you guys know, this is an 8th gen. This is an 06 Civic Si. This one actually has a 2420 swap in it. He said, I believe it's a 2420. I think that's what he told me, but he said he was coming home one day and then just spun a bearing for no reason. Found a nail or something, some weird thing like that inside the block. So this is what he's got. He wants me to build him a custom strut brace for one. That's the main thing that we're doing. So it's definitely going to be custom because this is some tight clearance. I got to try and make it come up here. I got to be really weary of hood clearance. I got to be weary of all this stuff here. And then he's also got a muffler that he asked me if I could potentially patch up. So that thing there. And then we got a wideband bung, because he has this AEM wideband. So he's going to be trying to install that. So that's the first thing I'm going to do actually, is get the car jacked up if I can. It's a little low. I don't want to damage anything. Get the car jacked up and then take a peek at that header like exhaust setup side where you can kind of see where the bung is going. And then we'll go from there. So it'll be a little tricky to make this brace, but I think I'll be able to work something out. Just have to get a little creative, at least with my mounting points. The tube part, that's easy. It's just this mounting point's going to be a little tricky. that's the general design I'm thinking of going with. Big tube that comes around the front, that's actually going to be the structural part, and then 2 tubes that come across because he really wants some sort of gusset on there. So I'm going to see if I can't find a way to just add a little flare to the front and put a gusset in that space to make it look cool. Got our marks, so I know to keep it, this line here on both sides is the front of the cowl, so I know to keep the main tube in between these 2 points. What I'm doing now is I'm just getting my drawing kind of done up for what I kind of want to do, and I'm getting my general measurements. So I already made up 2 little mounting tabs, 2 little mounting tubes. I'm gonna have to trim the bottom part of the plastic just a little bit to clear my tube when I notch it to it. And here I have my cheater piece to kind of figure out. This is just a 90. So I think because where I'm coming in at, I'm probably gonna have to do about an 80-degree bend. So I'll double check that first. But right now I'm starting to measure from where my tube is to where the bend is going to start, and each side I'm trying to mirror it, obviously. So I'm doing, so far I've got 7 1/4 inches before the bend starts, and now I need to figure out exactly my bend angle, because once I find my bend angle, then I find out how much it cost, how much material it cost me, because you can see on here I have each 10 degrees marked. So I know that on my die it takes me about 7-ish inches, I forget, to get a 90. So if I need an 80, I just measure from the end to my 80-degree mark, and that'll give me my 80-degree spec. So then I'll multiply that by 2, and then I just have to measure the distance in between the 2 bends and add that all up, and then I'll have my length needed, and I'll probably add like 2 inches on top of that just to be safe, give myself slack, some cutting material, and cut it up, go bend it, and then that'll be it. Then notch it, hopefully it fits, and then we can go add any secondary tubing to that and any gussets to that. I got my measurements, I threw a piece of tape across, used my cheater piece, so I'm thinking 80 degrees is going to be the money. So got my 80-degree end mark right there, got one on the other side, measured the distance between those. That came up to 41.5 inches. So what I had to do is I had to add the 7 1/4 from the mountain point to that point, the mountain point to that point, the amount of material it cost me to make my bend for each 80-degree bend, and then the amount of material in between. So this is what all my measurements were. So total, I'm gonna give myself another inch of slack, because I think I counted a little high just for the extra material there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a 70-inch piece, and then I made my midpoint. So I marked my midpoint, so I know to do that on my tube, and then I do 1/2 of 35 on each side to get my bend points, so that would be 17.5 inches from each end, and then I'm doing an 80-degree bend, and then I'm bending from the inside piece. So when I go to bend it, I'm going to feed it in the end first, that way when it bends, you know, like inside ways, and then vice versa. So about 70 inches should be good. Hopefully I don't mess it up, but I'm still, guys, I'm nobody special. The only reason I even know how to do that much is from watching hours upon hours of the fabrication series on YouTube and watching other people do it. Like, I'm no better than any of you. I just spent my money differently, so I bought tools instead of some car parts or stuff like that. So you guys could definitely do this too. Got the bar set up. I did mess up on the first one. My measurements were off because like I said, I'm new to this, so like I keep telling you guys, I'm no better than you, I'm no smarter. I'm honestly probably dumber. But I finally figured it out. I had my bend spots in the wrong spot because I was accounting for these measurements. Me starting my bend over here, I didn't take into account that I'm starting my bend from the inside. I just knew that I had to bend from the inside. So I actually had to move my bend point over 4 inches to account for the amount that sticks out of my die, to where I actually bolt the clamp onto my tube. So that actually helped it, and for some reason I ended up having to chop out a couple inches out of the center. I'm not entirely sure why, so I'm gonna go over my notes and figure out exactly where I overcorrected, unless I just added too much in the middle because I was just by myself measuring across. So I could have just had the tape measure in the wrong spot, but I don't know, 4.5 inches is pretty excessive to be over marking. So either way, center bar is it's bent up, so I'm just going to finish welding the cross, grind that flat. And since it's not like a cage, it's not going to be structural, it's not going to break or anything, and with me adding the secondary tubes and the gussets, it'll be fine. So now all that's left on the main bar is the notches, and then it's good to be welded up. And then I'll just have to trim the little side plastics right here accordingly, just a little bit, just a little teeny notch out the center there, and then this thing will be done, at least until I start doing the secondary bars. But what's good is, since I did mess up the first piece, I could always cut the center section out, reuse that stick for like a rear brace or something, and then I can reuse my bends and maybe even use them for this brace. So it's not an entire waste. There's always ways to recycle and reuse your excess material. But I definitely measured twice and I had to cut like 4 times, so I'm no better. Now that our main section's bent up, I just went and got my magnetic angle finder, held it where I wanted the tube, got my measurement, so it's about 10 degrees of an angle that I need to follow, coming like on a downward slope. So let's go set up in the notcher. I won't be using the tube notcher, I'm gonna have to do this with my hand because I have to feed it in like that, and then it has to go rotating upwards because of the way the notch has to be. And I'm hitting my ceiling. This is exactly why I need a workshop. So these things I print out on a website called metalgeek.com, and it's just a template. You just type in your tube size to the other tube size, your angle, and your wall thickness and stuff, and then it calculates it, and then you just print it out, wrap it around your tube, and cut it out. So just got done marking it. Now we got our spot to notch, and I'll just take the cutoff wheel to it and clean it up with a flap disc. It's hard to do this on both sides, just because my hands, but you can see the notch is almost perfect. Just gotta squeeze it in a little bit. So I'm gonna chase it out a little bit more with the flap disc just to make it a little bit better of a fit. Clean up the mill scale off the end, and then I'll go grab the MIG welder. We'll tack this in here. So I had to redo the main tube. The guy wasn't happy with how the first one was because he just installed these hood struts, and it didn't clear because those hood struts went right in the line of path, but I was trying to clearance everything else. So I remade it, did 45, sucked it up a little bit closer to the valve cover. So it's a little bit of a chore to get the dipstick out, but it'll come out. Oil cap's a little snug, but this thing definitely needs some gussets. So I told him I already got my pieces marked out, notched out and stuff to go like that. So I already got his say so. So this is where the cowl goes. This intrudes in on the cowl a little bit, so the cowl's gonna have to be trimmed, but he said that's okay. So then here's the other side right there. So I'm gonna go throw those in, tack those into place really quick, and then I can make the gussets, because it's a little floppy right here. It's already welded together, but there's just no other support because of how broad it is. So the gussets and these secondary tubes are gonna strengthen that up, like triangulate it, so it shouldn't do that so much. I think this thing should be pretty much done. Just finished up the dimple dies / gusset plates, whatever you want to call them. I'm letting it cool off. I literally just finished welding it, so I'm just propped it up. I propped it up off the valve cover so it doesn't hurt it at all. I trimmed up the plastics a little bit right here. I'm probably gonna have him trim the cowl because I really don't want to ruin his cowl for him. I'll let him ruin it himself. So yeah, I think this thing's ready to bolt down. So I'm pretty stoked on it. I mean, it could have been a little bit better, honestly, if I would have had a little bit more clearance. Because ideally I would have liked to have brought it down a little bit further and then did a plate going across and then gusseted the whole thing. But that also would have prohibited him from using much of anything right here, because ideally I wanted it back over the fuel rail, and then that would have taken up over this, and then more so over the dipstick and stuff than it already is. But I think he should be hopefully pretty stoked on it. This one really was trying for me because there's so many limiting factors right here that I have to take into consideration. Hood clearance, cowl clearance, shock strut clearance, valve cover clearance, and then just trying to find my bend angles. That's the really hard part for me. Like I did the 45s, that wasn't the issue. It was just the issue was figuring out how to add up all the angles to find how much material I needed. I'm still trying to work that part out. But I guess slowly but surely I'm getting there. Progress, as young Static always says. So I'm going to give this a minute to cool, bolt it in, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Just needs to be trimmed a little bit, so I'll let him do that. But it looks good. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna cut this thing off here though. Hopefully Danny, again, is happy with his strut brace, and I'm definitely happy with my hardtop. I freaking love it. It really changes the look of the car, like I said, and can't wait to wrap it. I actually just got some parts in for the Miata, some sway bar end links and some bushings and stuff. So we're gonna put those on in the next video. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you've considered subscribing. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. So do what you love, think about the rest. Oh, that reminds me, I did set up a Patreon. So if you guys want to help support the channel and that means, go sign up for the Patreon. And then I also got some Lonely Cloud stickers in, because that's the thing that I'm trying to start, aka Lonely Cloud Fabrication. But yeah, go pick them up on the Big Cartel. See you in the next one. Peace out.